welcome to another episode of Caribbean Boot Stories. I think when people think about the Caribbean, they envision the most dynamic, vibrant, colorful palette. Today's guest encapsulates this imagery. Meet Korena Darnelle, a native of one of the most influential island developing states in our region, Barbados. Korena is a singer, a writer, birth and lifestyle photographer, and a fellow podcaster. Korena is one of two Caribbean women I've interviewed this season who have so masterfully scripted their experiences of pregnancy and birth. With the mission of this podcast seeking to foster a community of supportive listeners, it's imperative to have Korena share her story with us, as we are all CARICOM sisters striving to tell our story. So, welcome, Korena.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. So, as you may know, I'd like to ask my guests as we start to tell me a little bit about your journey to motherhood. Were you thrust into it? Was it a smooth? Was it bumpy? Tell me a little bit about it.
Wow. Um, my motherhood journey, I wouldn't say I was thrust into it. It was always something that I knew I wanted. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I always figured I would be good at it. I
Right.
didn't know there was so much to learn and keep learning, but it was something that I always had planned.
Mhm.
And when my husband and I got married, it was something that we said, okay, well, it's something that we want in the future, but we want to spend that whole getting to know each other time first
Yes.
and stuff like that. And then when I got into birth photography, when I initially started and I saw firsthand, literally firsthand, what it was like to see a baby born and born under such natural conditions, then that was the desire that I had for myself as well too, as
Right.
I wanted to, have a home birth. I wanted to just not have any interruptions, any interference. I just wanted a whole natural process. I'm more of the natural type of person anyway. Don't like
Right.
medication, none of that stuff. So
Right.
for me, it just seemed like a natural course of it. So we didn't have any issues getting pregnant or
Mhm.
anything like that. It was pretty much smooth sailing.
Right.
Um, and I know people would always talk about morning sickness and all this different stuff going on. Mine was a breeze.
Really? That's so good to hear. That's
Yeah.
so good to hear because, people, like you say, talk about morning sickness as if it's standard, but it's good to hear that some people don't experience any of that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was still relatively fit. I was walking up and down. I mean, I did pack on some pounds and stuff,
Right.
which is expected.
All right.
But, for me, it was relatively smooth sailing. I remember there was a time where I think I had 1 week of nausea or something like that. Nothing was
Mm-hmm.
staying down. And I never used to eat English apples, the red gala
Right.
apples. Never
Yes.
used to eat those. But somehow that was the only thing that stayed down that week. And then
Really.
after that, and since then, I eat English apples now. But that was the only little bout of nausea and stuff that I had. 1 week of it in like my eighth week of pregnancy or so,
Okay.
and everything else was pretty much smooth sailing, pretty good. I could have walked anywhere. I could have wear heels. I could have
Mm-hmm.
I could have just
Yeah.
go.
Well, that's good. But tell me something. So you talked about experiencing and witnessing the booths as a booth and lifestyle photographer. So how did that impact on your expectations of what your booth was going to be like?
Like to actually see it firsthand. I mean, the person who I would have photographed, she was also a friend.
Right.
And, we had broached the topic because it's still a little taboo here in Barbados,
Hmm.
actually documenting birth because people don't understand that it's not gory. It's the beauty of the transition from, especially if it's a first time mom,
Right.
going from being a person who's pregnant to being a mother and seeing that child for the first time. And, when I was watching that, I mean, she had a moment where she was afraid, and I
Mhm.
guess that would have been that transition moment where it's like, you didn't think you can do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She was going good all the time because even she's like, Karina, you want anything to drink? You want? And I'm like,
Right, right.
you're focusing on the wrong thing here. But then, you know, she had that moment where I guess her mind started to wander on all sorts of different things. And she had that moment of fear. But
Mm-hmm.
she had a fantastic doula and she had a fantastic midwife. And they helped her to get her thoughts in line, get her back centered, and
Right.
reminded her that her body was capable of this and that she could do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
to see where she went through that transition phase where they said, you know, that ring of fire, you know,
Yes.
and she is just giving everything that she has, and then to see that this little baby was coming out, you know, and just everything just went from her face except pure joy, you know.
Right.
I mean, there was a moment where I nearly forgot that I was supposed to be taking the picture, you know, because
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a baby be born before. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
she did it. It was her and her husband. There were
Right.
times she was leaning on him. It was just the beauty of the whole scenery, and to see that, you know, she had that moment where she may have thought and had doubts and stuff, but she was encouraged to hold on, and then to see it come through for her, I was
Yes.
thinking, wow, well, she can do it. All right, I got this down, you know, I know,
Right.
you know. um and you know, it was just that amazing thing where the baby goes from, you know, coming out of her stomach, passing through the water, because the baby
Oh, it
was
was a water birth.
bath,
Mm-hmm.
and coming out to the water, and then her just holding the baby, you know, and she's spending that time and seeing the vernix just being absorbed back into the skin, not being wiped off, none of that.
Right.
It's just being
Right.
absorbed back in the skin. And then the baby in a few minutes starts breastfeeding, and they're still connected by the
By the-
cord, you
Right.
know.
Hmm. So
Because
there was delayed cord cutting.
yes, the midwife
Hmm.
only cut that cord after it stopped pulsing. So it was like
Right.
another 5 or so minutes, maybe. Um, and to just see that whole scene, you know, and they're uninterrupted is just, it was just so cool, you know. I mean, afterwards, yes, the midwife did come in, check the baby, did measurements and everything,
Right.
but they had that skin to
Bonding.
skin, you know. And then while mommy was being taken care of, daddy got the skin to skin with baby, and it was just a really beautiful thing. So I mean, I was expecting that.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, that's a good transition because you wrote a book
Yeah,
entitled Give Me a Home Birth,
yeah,
the birth story I didn't expect.
yes.
Can you describe your experience then?
Well, it wasn't like that one. Let me start there. I guess having going through my own experience, being able to see other mothers give birth in a natural state, you
Mhm.
understand the importance of mindset and
Yes.
support.
Hmm.
What would have happened is, I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but
Right. Of course.
what would have happened for me is I didn't have that mindset. You know, sometimes you go into life thinking, well, if you share what you're planning to do, you'll have support,
Right.
and that's not always the case. And sometimes you don't realize how much wanting that support or needing that support can play on your psyche. So, what would have happened with me is my family was not supportive of the whole home birth. As far as they were concerned, it was like, oh, well, you know, you can go and have birth at a hospital. Who does that? You don't do that anymore, or whatever, whatever. And
Right.
I'm like, but we have a midwife here that's
Hmm.
trained. We have doulas here that are trained.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't have the support. And then the work environment I was in was not necessarily the best either. So while I did have like a perfect lead up during my pregnancy, my 9 months was
Right.
pretty smooth.
Yes.
Um, what would have happened after is that I don't think I mentally had the strength to push through.
Mm.
At that time where the transition was coming for me, although my doula was there, she was very supportive. Although my midwife was there and she was also very supportive, you know, there was a point where she called me one side and she's like, Karina, there's something blocking your mind and you need to let it go, you know. But
So you
unfortunately,
were at home.
yes, I was at home. I was at
Okay.
home. I did have my birth pool and everything
Okay.
set up. My husband was there. He was boiling water. Went out,
Right.
got pizza and stuff. He was working hard, bringing water for me to drink and everything. So
Right.
I did get some time in the pool and stuff, but I think mentally
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as strong as I thought I was,
Right.
or it was that I allowed other things to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that I found out after too is like reading an Amaze Gaskin's book on birthing. I
Mm-hmm.
think had I read that prior, I
Right.
think I would have been stronger mentally,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think people really tell you what pregnancy and what birth and what being a mother is about. People just give you a lot of gloss over things. Oh,
Correct.
sleep on the baby sleeping, and you gotta eat right and you gotta exercise, but they don't really dive
No.
into the reality of what being pregnant is really about, how
Mm-hmm.
dangerous being pregnant could be at times,
Yes.
um, how scary it is, how
Mm-hmm.
scary and alone moms feel,
Mm-hmm.
especially after when the baby is born, where everybody's like, oh, I want to see the baby, but nobody's checking for the mom that went through all of
Exactly.
this. So my birth story, it didn't go like my client's own at all, but
Right.
there were still a good couple of lessons that I learned. And I'm somebody that believes in everything happens for a reason, even if you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some you could either choose to, you know, wallow in self doubt, self pity, or what have you. And I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place for that, but it's
Mm-hmm.
how long you stay there. Because at
Right.
some point, you got to be able to pause, do your tears, do your cries, what have you. But then at some point, you have to stop, dry your tears, get up, dust off, and figure out what lesson did you learn and how
Mm-hmm.
can you move forward to help others. At least that's my premise.
Yes. No, no. And so tell me, so you had an healthy baby at the
Ye-
end of it.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Um, and so there was that disappointment because you didn't experience what you wanted to,
Yeah.
experience.
Mhm.
So for someone listening, because there is like proper research out there about whether it's C-section, disappointment, because you've had a C-section, you didn't plan to have a C-section, and I'm not saying that you had a C-section, but those are the things that after you've had a birth that you weren't expecting, now have to deal with those feelings of disappointment. How did you deal with it, and how long did it take you to process
Um,
the whole thing?
well, those are two different things. I would
Yes,
say
they are.
that I'm still dealing with it
Mhm,
because you can't change your past,
mhm.
and every once in a while I do have my moments when I'm like, shh, darn it,
Yeah. Yes.
but I think that what would have helped is to watch my little one grow, to have that encouragement from my husband. My husband is a very, very strong person.
Mhm,
um and he's been there. There are times where I still like, shh, and
mhm,
he, like, having him to lean on, I think is what helps me to get through it. And
mhm.
also having a network of other moms to be able to share with, because what would have transpired from that is I mean, I'm a mom now, so I started to lean on other moms to find out, okay, well, how you, and moms closer to my age,
Right.
because I always see eye to eye, but she's very fantastic and stuff like that. But we're talking about 30 plus years ago. So I
Yeah.
wanted somebody that was going through it now. And I started to talk to some other ladies and realized that some of them went through the same disappointment I did.
Mhm,
Some of them had natural births, but the place that they had it wasn't where they wanted. So they had different levels of disappointments, different levels of expectations that didn't come through. And so
mhm.
what ended up happening is we formed a small WhatsApp group
Okay.
where we shared different things. Sometimes it would be like, okay, um, dealing with the child is not going to sleep, or dealing with not wanting to breastfeed, or others are breastfeeding and what tips and tricks. So we started to just share ideas and piggyback off of each other
Mhm.
when things were starting to get rough. So like all of us pretty much had children in the same around the same
Same
time.
time. Right.
Some had children that were a bit older or would have had two or three. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were able to help us to remember not to pull out our hair, and that, we will all get through this. But
Yes.
I think having that mom support group would have helped along with Alex as well. Yeah.
Right. And in the immediate postpartum period, were there any challenges you didn't foresee? Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please share with us. So, yeah,
Babies, wow. Babies don't care what else you're doing. They really
no,
don't care. They're like, I'm hungry, feed me. I'm sleepy, do something to comfort me.
correct.
My pamper is dirty. Then as soon as you change that pamper, it's like they go and do something in it again. It's
Else,
like, and you're like, or they have air, and because babies can't talk. So you
yeah,
have to learn. I had to learn to differentiate cries. Oh, that one means you have actually um dirtied up your pamper. Okay, this one means that you might have air and I need to burp you again, or
yes.
just children do not come with a manual, and each
Hmm.
child is different.
Yeah.
And it was just the sheer amount of it, and people telling you sleep when the baby sleeps. Huh? How you mean
Yeah.
sleep when the baby sleep? When the baby's sleeping, I don't get to clean up the dishes, or I don't get
Mhm.
to read a book for the first time in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize too, because people will tell you all of these good, fantastic things about babies, but there are some times where you've changed the pamper, you've burped the child, you've fed the child, you've hugged the child and played with the child, you've signed to the child, you've done everything, and the child is still looking at you, bawling your eyes out, and it's like,
Yes. What next? It's
yeah,
good advice.
you don't realize as much as you love them,
Hmm.
people will try to sugarcoat it and make it seem like it's all a bed of roses, but there's some days where you've just gone through everything you've gone through, your whole body, your whole system has changed. You're not
Change.
trying, at least for me, I'm trying to figure out who's this person in the mirror, because my body clearly did not look like that before this child came along.
Yeah.
And it's like you're dealing with that, coming to terms with who you are now, trying to find back your place in this world as not just being a mom, but trying to
Hmm.
figure out how to be a mom to a child who cannot communicate with you other than to cry.
Yeah.
And then you're feeling overwhelmed because you don't want to fail this little person, you don't want to let this little person down, but at the
Hmm.
same time the back of your head is screaming, but you need a minute.
Yes.
You don't know how to take the minute because you
Mhm.
feel like I'm supposed to be always doing this. Sometimes, and I remember times where I forgot to eat.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I need to take a shower. But then as soon as I'm going to, she starts crying.
Oh,
And it's like,
yeah.
and like I said, talking to the ladies in the group, when one lady said, Karina, you need to learn a one hand trick. I'm like,
Mm.
huh? It's like the one hand trick. The child needs to eat. Okay, fine. Latch her onto your boob, take your other hand and start eating. It's like that's the only way
No,
it's gonna work,
that's
and
so true.
yeah, you start to come to a place where you realize, okay, you're not being insane. It's not all in your mind, but you just need a minute to just breathe, to just
Yeah.
breathe.
And you have to give yourself grace too, because I mean, we all kind of have this perfect view because of what society has told us that, okay, when the baby's feeding, you're feeding the baby, you're bonding, you're latching, looking. But the reality is, yeah, you can eat while the baby's eating. That's
Yeah.
not the perfect, most ideal scenario, probably
Mhm.
not. But it gets food in you and it gets food in the baby, and
Yeah.
everybody's happy. So yeah, good words of advice. And so since that very first birth experience, you've had subsequent children, correct?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And and how has that been? Has that replaced that first experience? Or yeah, okay. I'll let you
um,
explain.
I'll be honest with you. Each
Hmm.
of my, when people say each pregnancy is different,
Yeah.
they were not lying. That
Hmm.
has been true to a T for me. I
Hmm.
mean, with my first two, like I said, the whole not having any nausea, none of that would happen. Like with my second one, I had that nausea in like week 9. So instead
Right.
of week 8, this time I had it in week 9. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then it just quickly went away.
Hmm.
There wasn't no introduction of anything else though. So I was still on the apples and stuff. But again, we pretty much went textbook all the
Mm-hmm.
way through. There was no anything.
No
Um,
complications.
except for when it came to it's like I am good during pregnancy. It's my deliveries that I have not mastered. So everything was going really well, and then the delivery actually landed me in hospital for a couple weeks.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but we're both good. We're both good.
Okay.
Um, that experience, though, funny enough, I actually like that experience on a wholesome plane. I like that experience better than my first experience. And
Okay.
I say that because at least this time I kind of knew, okay, what to expect. I knew how my
Mhm.
body was feeling. I
Yes.
mean, we had a bit more stretching and turning that I was expecting, and then
Right.
it's dealing with the little one and pregnant, like my first
Mm-hmm.
girl, she was like, "Mommy, I want to lift up." And I'm like, I want to lift her up, but in all fairness, I shouldn't lift her up,
Right.
because I'm big pregnant now and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think that experience pulled my family and I a bit closer.
Okay.
Um, I think that did pull us a bit closer. And I think that, knowing what it was and what was going on, it still ended up well in the end. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it showed me that I was a lot stronger than I thought.
Right.
Um, so
Despite having to go to the hospital.
despite having to go to the hospital, oh, I did not want to go to the hospital, but
Mm.
and then my third one, though, that's where we actually thought we were going to be getting a boy this time.
Oh,
She was completely 360.
yeah.
I had sciatic nerve pain with her. I had, wow, I mean, still no nausea.
Right. Okay.
I actually think about week 7 for only like 2 days did I have like an upset stomach or something. So I was
Right.
like, okay, so we going down the same road.
Right.
Mm-mm. I started
So I
getting
think,
sciatic nerve pain, and there were times I literally could not walk.
yeah.
So it was a different kind of pregnancy with her altogether. But I still think the first one. Well, all three of them have their own place, and all three of them have etched in. But
Right.
like I told my first girl, you're the one that made me the mummy. So
Correct. Yeah.
I think hers will always be the one that really set the stage kind of for everything else, and
Mm-hmm.
started to show me that I had strength within that I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, how much do you think about your own physical health now? I mean, you've had 3 babies.
Mhm.
What are their ages?
Well, the oldest is 5, going on
Mm-hmm.
15, but the oldest is 5. The second girl, she's 2, and the youngest one is still a baby. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but hers was a different story. I'm actually going to be writing their birth stories.
Oh, nice.
I can't leave them out.
No.
Um, yeah,
And I'll
because
definitely get those details because I want to put the details in the show notes because I want my guests to support. So I know I've read on Amazon as well. You have great reviews for your first book. So definitely we're going to put the links in the show notes
yeah,
for our guests and listeners to kind of grab their copy.
yeah.
Um,
Mentally, that's how I started back painting, actually, because I
mhm.
needed those moments, because a lot of people focus on just the physical health, but as I said, with my first girl, I realized how much I needed to make sure my mental health
So, yeah.
was all
Mhm.
together. So I started back painting, and I guess writing her story was also very therapeutic for me as well too.
Yes. Mhm.
So yeah, things like that I would do. Yeah.
Okay. And so on one of your IG profiles, you state that the Balancing the Hats podcast was created during COVID, right?
Yes.
I really
Yes.
like that name. Tell me how you've been able to manage or balance your time wearing the many hats that you do. Tell us.
Wow. Yes, it was started during COVID. I mean, all of us were home, all of us
Mhm.
were kind
Yes.
of boxed in. So I needed an outlet for me. Um,
Mhm.
so that's kind of how it started. And I love to talk, which is something that I say often. I do love to talk. So,
Right,
and I wanted to meet people across the world in a quick and easy way that could still happen and still make that connection, even though we couldn't travel.
right.
And so that's where that started. And I wanted to find out from other moms. And then I realized I wanted to find out from other dads. And then I wanted
Yeah,
to find out about other photographers. And
correct. Everything.
it just kind of branched into that. And I remember one of the first ones I had to was three things you wish you knew as a parent, as a mom, a dad, and it just kind of sparked off from there. And then it brought to light for me too, like, like how you asked, how do I manage to balance my hat? And I think that is realizing that everything can't be priority one. And I think
Right.
that's where my issue started at the very beginning. It was like I needed to do all of these different things. But
Mhm.
what I started to do, and what I'm getting a bit better at, is I would say, okay, these 3 months are podcasting and my usual being a mom, being a wife, being me.
Yeah.
And then these other 3 months, I'll focus on more the photography or more of the writing. So I started to set out little blocks. And even
Right.
one of my guests that I would have had, she called it stacking and blocking.
Yes.
Um, so it ended up being something like that for me, where I carved out time, but then I had to be mindful of the fact that I have to be able to pivot, because
Flexible.
life
Yeah.
is going to send you curveballs. Life is going to change things. You might have it planned that, okay, Monday I'm going to do this, 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 this. And Monday comes and you get nothing done. And it's okay. One of the other things I came up with recently, especially going in the experience I had with my last daughter, is it's okay to not be okay. It's
Mhm.
okay to not have everything going according to plan,
Yeah.
but what can you learn from it? So I just started to section out my time a bit
Mhm.
better, and to just focus on the things that I needed and which ones I wanted to be priority on that day. And sometimes
Mhm.
priority on that day is doing nothing,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing.
I
Not
like
getting
that.
out of bed, just not doing anything.
And
So
that's okay.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yep, yep. I really like that. So what would be your number one recommendation for an expectant mom listening right now? What's your top lesson you think or recommendation for her?
I would say know you and know
Mhm.
what it is you want for you. Some women are doing it alone, some are doing it with partners, some are doing it with their family support or not supporting. But at the end of the day, you have to know what's right for you and what's right for your body.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling like there's something you're unsure about and you want to ask a question, go to a reliable source. You might not have a midwife, or you might have a doula, or you might have your doctor or somebody. Ask them a question and get
Mhm.
good guidance. Um, do not spend too much time on Google. Don't.
Yes.
Google is not your friend during pregnancy.
I
Um,
know. I know.
but if you have a great network of friends that you can piggyback a question off of and what's not, then sure, by all means. But listen to yourself and determine for yourself what it is that you want for you and your baby, and
Mhm.
start to visualize it, and
Mhm.
just keep focus on that. Try to exclude all the noise that's
Mhm.
around you and just focus on you and connecting with you and that little one that's growing, and just focus on happy, healthy, and whole. And
I
that's
like
it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karina.
Welcome.
I like to ask my guests to choose a song that best describes their journey, whether it's pregnancy, delivery, labor, the whole process. Have you been able to come up with a song or songs that maybe
Um, I would say I would more have a slogan.
okay, we'll do slogans.
And the slogan will be Nikes, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it, because once you've made that decision to become a mom,
Mhm.
there's really no going back from that. And
Mhm.
there's only looking ahead, looking forward, and it is one of the most beautiful journeys you can embark on. I will
Yeah.
not lie, it has its challenges. There will be moments where, you're like, oh my gosh, you want to pull your hair out.
Yeah.
But watching a little person that was part of you on the inside of you, not being on the outside and growing,
Mm,
you're seeing a little mirror of yourself.
yes.
I mean, it's just the most amazing thing. So yeah, just, if you decide that this is the time for you, go
Hmm.
ahead, just do it, and just be willing to dance with the punches, roll with the punches, and keep moving forward and do it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So we've never done slogans. You're the first slogan. Thank you. But yes, Karina, just thank you for your insightful words and sharing your experience with us. And like I said before, we're going to put in the show notes how our listeners can grab a copy of your book, where they can hear more about your story and how you manage the disappointment, the changes, the joy, and everything that's associated with pregnancy and birth and delivery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to say anything else to close off.
I just want to thank you for having me, and I really hope that any expectant moms who are listening, that you all have a safe and happy and healthy delivery. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, great. And all the best with Balancing the Hats podcast and all your many endeavors. Just great success. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome. Hi, guys. Thank you for staying to the end. That was a really good interview with Karina. Really enjoyed that one. Um, yeah, just as an aside, Barbados is like one of my favorite places. I have really good friends that live there. Actually, one of my best friends lives there. And I always said to myself that it would be outside of Trinidad, the next place, next island that I would live in. So every time I have somebody from Barbados, I'm like, oh, and they talk about, well, off camera, we're talking about what's going on in Barbados, what's going on here and there. I'm like, oh, could have been, should have been. But anyway, so yeah, that was a really nice interview. So I really love supporting my fellow Caribbean sisters, and if you're able to purchase Karina's book, that would be really good because I think we just need to support each other and not just talk it, show it. So yeah, the other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was I forgot. Right. So Karina mentioned stacking, blocking and stacking. So I would say at the maybe mid 2021, my sister-in-law actually sent me some information about, did it start there? No, it didn't start there. What happened is that I have a friend in Trinidad who is like the president of like a planner association, TT Planners Addicts. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. She'll kill me. Anyway, that's what it is. I'll put the real name in the profile if it's not that, but I think that's what it is. And I saw that she was doing all these like they would meet up and plan, and I'm like, this is serious. I don't understand what's going on here, but I said to myself, oh, maybe this is something I could get into. So she voice note me, she let me know what it's all about and X, Y, and Z. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll give it a try. But then do you know it's a whole world? Like planning is a whole world out there. So it is a bit overwhelming, but she helped really kind of just streamline, okay, what size planner you want, what kind of planner you want, if you want inserts or if you want a book or what size rings, 6 ring, 9 ring. It's a lot. So anyway, I told my sister-in-law about it, and she was also like kind of amazed at how all encompassing this planner world is. She mentioned to me that someone had told her about bullet journaling, and I was like, bullet journaling, what is this now? And anyway, my sister-in-law is like a researcher. She likes once she's in a bee's in her bonnet, she goes and she looks at everything about it. So she started doing some more research and whatever. I asked my friend about bullet journaling, and she told me that her husband did it, but she didn't really do it too much. Anyway, all that to say is that for my birthday, my sister-in-law bought me a bullet journal. So for those of you who don't know what a bullet journal looks like, it's, well, I mean, obviously there are very many versions, but for all intents and purposes, it just has, oh, let me do this side. Oh, why can't I find it? It has dots. You see? Dots, 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 dots. Right. So bullets, right? Um, so that's a whole other world too. So we watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to figure out your bullet journal. So I'm just going to share a little bit. This was October of 2021. So that's what mine looks like. So you have like a month in review. I'm sorry, my lighting is going to be funky. We have a month in review. And then you just have like a brain dump section. You know, what are you going to talk about? Clearly, I didn't do much brain dumping there. And then a habit tracker. So this side, oh, not good at this. So, you know, my vitamins, you know, church. Clearly, I wasn't going to church much in October. And then my gratitude log. I clearly wasn't filling that out either. But no, this is my favorite part, the week in review. So this is a week in review. So each column, so with this bullet journaling, you have to like count the number of dots so that you have, you know, the same space in each column. So Monday to Sunday, I start my week on a Monday. And so if you notice, I'm gonna try and make this as easier to do as I can. Just over here. Right. So I have little dots here. The dots are the tasks that I have. And then I just X them off when I've actually completed the tasks. The triangles, events. So this is a Planoly workshop at 12 then I hide because I just love color. I highlight it when I've completed the actual event. And then these 1, 2, 3, because what happened in the initial stages when I was doing this, I had like all my tasks, but then, you know, you always just want to do the tasks that you want to do. And the ones that maybe are not as much fun or maybe require a little bit more time, you leave out. And I was like, no. So I started to realize, no, I need to do like a top 3. I must do these top 3 tasks for the day. And then the other tasks, if I don't do it, I don't feel so bad. So I have my 1, 2, 3. These are the things I must do. And then, you know, whatever. And then, so below here now, which is, I really love. So the other thing is I love stickers. So where's the stickers? They're in this box. Hold on. You're going to move up. Can't figure out. So these are happy planner stickers. I'll show you later because it's actually on the box that the laptop is on. So what I love about these stickers is that you can tick off whatever you decide to do. So in this block, so even though I have all my tasks, but I have no times here and I have no times here. So what I do here is then I put in the time. So from 9:45 to 10:45, I'm going to the gym. 11:30 to 12, that's where I'm updating Libsyn. And then my Planoly workshop, which is at 12. And then kids sale, which shouldn't be there, but anyway. I go to 1:30 to 3, and then the diastasis course, and then I'm completing my October content. So I need this at the bottom because having the tasks is great. But then if you don't have a time, and that's what Korena was talking about, blocking out your time. If you don't have time set and carved out, it's difficult to then figure out when you're going to do these things, or you just spend too much time doing one thing and not completing the other task because you've now run out of time because you spent 5 hours on one thing. So this one, if it is that I decide, okay, from 11:30 to 12, so that's just half an hour, I'm updating my podcast stuff. When the 30 minutes are finished, wherever I am, that's it. And then I move on to the next task. So it really keeps you in check. So I do that every month. And then, so yeah, this is a better habit tracker. I was better this month. So you see, I did those things. And I was a little better with my gratitude journal as well. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about this. about me because, just so you know that I'm really a crazy little person. No, no, no. Just so you know a little bit more about me. And I have other interests outside of podcasting, obviously, but I enjoy sharing things that I think would be helpful to other people. And I know when I started doing the bullet journaling, it basically changed the way I did everything. It made me way more efficient. And, people ask me all the time, how you get time to do all these things? And the truth is, I'm not working in a typical job, full time job, 9 to 5, but I still have a lot of things to do. And I still manage to get most, if not all of it done. Sometimes I have to, be agile, but I still get it done within that week. And it's all because of this journal. It's all because of this planner. And I just want to share that with you. So this video is pretty long, but I just want to start for season 3, just sharing a little bit about myself. So I really hope you enjoy. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the thumbs up button to like the video as well. And if you have any comments, feel free to put it in the comment section. And then also share. Please feel free to share the podcast as well as to share the YouTube videos. Okay, thanks so much. Have a great one. Bye.